สวัสดีครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่การบรรยายสรุปข้อมูลของบริษัท TPIPL จำกัดมหาชนนะครับประจำไตรมาส 1 ปี 2566 นะครับผู้บรรยายสรุปข้อมูลวันนี้นะครับ Miss Maria Brenda Lopez นะครับ VP Corporate Relations นะครับส่วนผมนะครับประเสริฐอิทธิเมคินนะครับ SVP Finance นะครับเพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลานะครับผมจะขออนุญาตเชิญคุณ Maria ได้ทำ presentation เลยครับเชิญครับ
Yes, this part will be in English. Thank you everyone for joining us in this company update session of TPI polling. First is a disclaimer because we have forward-looking statement in our presentation material. These are regular slides that we present to you showing the important parts of the business in a business grouping basis. So as usual, construction material is the largest in terms of sales, but in terms of EBITDA, as for the first quarter of this year, it only accounted for 14% of total. Specialty polymer is 24% of our sales and 29% of our total EBITDA. Whereas the energy is on 19% of our sales, but 59% of our EBITDA. If you recall our full year presentation last quarter, this was a lower number compared to specialty polymer. So this year we see improvement in our energy division. These are our key assets, cement, construction materials. We have cement. Our capacity is 13.5 million tons. If you compare us with others on the basis of Thailand capacity alone, we are second and our utilization rate is pretty high. We also have mortar, ready-mix concrete and the rest of it. In terms of ready-mix concrete, fiber cement and such, we are similar to the other producers. Our HBA, specialty polymer is HBA, and then our energy is MSW driven. We do have 150 megawatt of coal-fired power plant, and this we are modifying so that by 2026 it will be running on 100% MSW. And then we have new projects, solar farm and a wind farm in Saraburi. Other assets that we have is the 15,000 rai of land totally in strategic location, and this includes Chana, which is around 10,000 rai. These are our products. We still have over 5,000 SKUs, and the biggest of that is in the cement product division as well as in the agriculture division, because by characteristic they go by in small product basis. Now, we do have a strong culture of innovation in the company. We are the first one in mortar, and we are the first one in hydraulic cement. These mortar and hydraulic cement, they have a lower clinker content, and so one could argue that these are green cement products already. We are first and the only producer of stucco wall. And then interesting for us is that our limestone quarry is linked to our production facility, and we have a conveyor belt running from the quarry to the production facility, and this saves us about 3 million liters of diesel per year because we do not use trucks anymore. And this also produces 1 million kilowatt hour of electricity, good enough to run the conveyor belt. So this is a very interesting aspect of our production facility that is not common in the world and also especially in Asia. We are the first power plant that use a zero waste policy, meaning all of the waste are used up. We are MSW. In addition to industrial waste, we are mainly MSW. This is household garbage. And we are the first MSW WTE SP in Thailand. Now remember I said we use a zero waste policy. When we burn the garbage, we have fly ash. And this fly ash is pushed into our building material division, used as one of the components of the cement and mixtures. We are the first in producing fiber cement that is fire resistant, and this product is gaining popularity in the UK and also in Australia. We also use fiber cement to make furnitures and door frame, and these are very good substitute to wood-based products. We are the first to produce the fast drying and odorless paints for walling and surfaces. In our healthcare division, we have Bionox. This is a high alkaline powder drink that can stand the growth of viruses and bacteria. So it's very helpful for someone who has immunity compromised condition, especially under COVID. We also have Provita. This is a probiotic drink, which is based on Lactobacillus paracas. This is the same bacteria that is used in production of betagen and yaku. The differentiating factor for our probiotic drink is that we have what we call probiotic encapsulation technology, or PET. This is a new technique in biopharmacology. With this technology, we can prolong the shelf life of our probiotic drink to up to 4 months at room temperature. So this is a product that is far superior to the available probiotic drink in a form of liquid like yaku and betagen. So this innovation culture create a competitive moat and a better than peers margin. We would like to give the investing community a heads up. Starting June 1, we go for a major launch of green cement and building products. I already indicated that some of our products can be considered as green cement, but we will make a major push towards green products and building materials starting June 1. And we will update you on the progress of that. This innovation culture brings us better than peers margin. So you can see that in here. Okay. In the first quarter of 2023, our margin for the construction material is a bit lower than the other competitors. But when you look down a longer time frame, we actually seems to be in the middle between the player number 1 and player number 2. And in the petrochemical space, we are definitely superior compared to player number 1. This is Siam Cement, and player number 2, which is PTDGC. We are on to 26% EBITDA margin. We are also superior to the specialty polymer producer in the market. This is APG. And the reason why we are better than these other players is because of our product positioning. Most of our competitors are in this red line, which is mostly commodity grade, whereas for us, we do a lot of high value added, which is in PV and also adhesive for hot mills applications. So how did we do in first quarter compared to others? Our sales were down 9% year on year, yes. But the other player were down much more. Our EBITDA margin is down by 30%, which is also similar as the other players. But our margin itself is much better than the other players in the market. Our profitability is also much better in terms of the growth and the margin. Right? Our net debt to EBITDA is a bit higher than the others, and that is because of the continued capex on our plant modification programs. Now, because of we would like to highlight to you this performance of the share price, not because we want to talk about the other companies, but we would just like to show you where we are at since the decline of the stock market in the first quarter of this year. You can see now that in terms of moving averages, we are our slope is plateauing, indicating a potential for a rebound. So we seem to have bottomed and waiting for good news to kick in on a 1-year time frame. The others are still quite. Our share price looks similar to Siam City Cement, but Siam City Cement has a lot of changes at the top level management, which needs to play out in terms of cash flow generation. Whereas for us, we are business as usual. The specialty polymer producer seems looking for a bottom, so that's still quite negative. And TPIPL Power, our subsidiary, is much more interesting than the parent, in a sense that you can see the moving averages, the 250 days coming together, and this is due for a rebound. We think this is a good place for you to start the accumulation. Now, this is technical, and so it depends on what you use as a benchmark to run your price trajectory. But how about the valuation in terms of fundamental? You can see that TPIPL is trading at around 5 times PE, and the lowest among the construction material, and also lower than the other energy-based companies. Even our subsidiary TPIPL is much cheaper. Now, in terms of dividend yield, based on the last announcement, we are running at a yield of 7%, and we are at about the same level as the yield offered by Siam City Cement. And our subsidiary TPIPL Power is also the same. In terms of P-book, we are at 50% discount to our book value, whereas our subsidiary is about 90% discount to our book. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 90% to its book value. And we are definitely cheaper than the competitors in terms of both PE and P-book. And as I indicated earlier, our share price seems to have bottomed based on the moving averages. So in terms of we are cheap in terms of technicals, and we are also much cheaper in terms of fundamentals. By the way, all the data I use here is from Reuters, so you might see some differences with our reported numbers, but I use Reuters so that you can duplicate these screens and this valuation table. So let's go to performance. You have already seen the details. I just would like to highlight a few things in terms of first quarter. Yeah, I said that the revenue was down 9%, but it's better 5% Q on Q. And in terms of gross profit, we are down 29% and also down Q on Q by 2%. Take note that on a Q on Q basis, we are growing, but our gross profit is still negative, and this tells you the characteristic of our business proposition, which is high operating leverage. As we grow this top line, we should be able to see this gross profit number improving Q on Q on a sequential basis. Now, in terms of segment breakdown, I mentioned to you that construction materials is still the biggest, and this time around, specialty is still number 2 in sales breakdown, and power is number 3. But in terms of EBITDA, there is a switch in the contribution of specialty polymer and power. Power now stands higher than specialty polymer. And in terms of asset base, okay, important to point out that the EBITDA margin for our construction materials also a bit lower than the last quarter. In terms of asset base, I mentioned to you that we are doing a lot of plant renovation improvements. So it is much focused in the construction material and also in the energy. In the construction material, we are doing efficiency programs as well as still completing our shift towards municipal waste in the use of clinker process. And in terms of power plant, we are now moving towards changing our coal-fired power plant, 150 megawatt into MSW. Our capex and cash flow is 2 billion for the consolidated, and about 1 billion of that is to TPI Poland Power. So in terms of highlight, just our EBITDA was 2.4 billion, and this is relatively lower than our projection that we guided to you at the end of the year, right? But we will discuss about that in the knowledge sharing section. So this is just another way of presenting how the different divisions are moving and how important they are to our sales. So construction materials and energy utilities. Construction materials is the biggest in sales, and energy and utilities is the biggest part of our EBITDA. And the margins are here again. Overall, we achieved 21% EBITDA margin. There was a slowdown, no doubt about that, and it was clear in our number. But overall, in terms of the slowdown, we are managing the slowdown very well. Construction materials is still going low, specialty also going lower, but our energy is getting higher. It was about 62%, and this is much. This is probably our pull up in the first half of this year. Overall, we are down year on year. You can see we were a bit higher than last year. The group overall EBITDA margin. Sorry about this. The picture didn't come in full. So in terms of financial, we remain very conservative in our positioning. We are sitting on a huge cash balance because the internal view is that financial conditions are going to get more difficult on the months ahead. And also we have CAPEX program for the whole year. Our funding cost is about 4%, and we got an upgrade from TRIS to A- in the late first quarter this year. Our working capital is still very high. You can see it's up on our cash position. Last year, our revenue was about 50 billion, right? So if you run this working capital, this is an average of 340 million baht every day. That is tied to just these products that are not going anywhere and waiting for the market. So that is a very high number. If somehow we could bring this down to about 111 days, like we did in the second quarter of 2021, this would give us savings close to 3 billion baht. So our guidance, this is short term. We still expect the real estate development and renovation activities to continue on the back of improving tourism. And infrastructure spending is still to improve, but there might be a setback in the shorter term because this depends on the formation of the new government. Product price adjustment will still continue to offset the higher energy costs due to higher FT. But the coal price is moderating temporarily, and this will give us some sort of benefit for our cement production in the clinker process. Higher FT raises the cost of cement, yes, but for the TPI group, this will be offset by the higher revenue from our power subsidiary. And the rebound in construction materials and energy EBITDA will be expected due to the partial completion of the cost efficiency and improvement projects. The MSW replacement in our clinker process also will bring us benefit, and coal consumption for that will be lower. The specialty polymer, if you look at the short-term chart, is not quite encouraging, but we believe that there will be an improvement, a slight improvement in the third quarter. Typically, that time is the high season for the manufacturing activity. In the first quarter of 2023, our spread is about $1,000 per ton, and that is still the current level of spread. Fiscal stimulus is expected, even though the fiscal position of the various governments in Asia and the world, including Thailand, is quite tight. We still think that fiscal stimulus would be the way that most governments chose to push the economy higher. And I think in this round of fiscal stimulus, we would be focusing on rural development and infrastructure spending. And that kind of fiscal stimulus will have multiplier effect that can also affect the household income and in turn affect renovation activities. So these are our guidance. You have seen this in the first quarter, and this is still the same as that time, but for now, we will definitely keep tracking. You can see our EBITDA in the first quarter realized was 2.4 billion baht, right? So relative to our full year target, we are tracking lower, but we are keeping our numbers for now. In the analyst, we encourage the analysts to run forecasts by division basis. Do not get too focused on the details. Just look at our breakdown. You can see that in our notes to financial statements. Remember that I show you this chart, right? Take a look. Last year, what happened to us was we had a strong first half, especially second quarter of last year. And then this time around, we are a bit lower. And yet, at this point in time, we keep our guidance the same. The reason for that is we are thinking that the trajectory last year will be reversed this year, meaning that our EBITDA margin will be probably flattish in the second quarter and will go up in the second half of the year. So that is the reason why we keep our guidance for now. So maintain that the best way for us to deliver better than expected performance and beat even our internal guidance and target is to lift the performance of our construction material sector. This is 50% of our asset, and the asset turnover here is very low compared to others. So if we can just lift this up, the EBITDA on asset will improve significantly. This is a managed agenda that we continue to look at, and this is the reason for our cost efficiency programs as well. And this is the top line improvement will be tied towards the improvement of the market, whereas the EBITDA on asset will be an improvement on the market as well as our cost efficiency gains. So it's still the same, right? We are still looking. Our capex this year is 7.7 billion. I showed you earlier that first quarter was 2.1 billion. This is our guidance, and we are still putting 29% ROCE on our capex. But we will rerun this number because I mentioned to you that the coal price is moderating. We have to wait for the trend on that one, whether it can continue in going lower. This is the highest year for us. Next year, we will be off the capex run. So that chart, this one we discussed before on the drivers for cement globally, that still remains positive. And this is our power division. In the first quarter, we improved significantly, going 493 million kilowatt units, and we are at about 60% of our utilization rate in terms of utilization rate. Could we hit the last peak? We would like to try, but probably not. But definitely, this is a trajectory that is gonna continue to go higher. FT is an issue in the market. People talk about that a lot, but impact on our prices still quite positive. We were now okay. Granted, in terms of our unit prices, the ones that are on an SPP basis is selling back lower, but it is still much higher compared to last year's average. You can see from here, right? How is the FT going? So FT shouldn't be a surprise for everyone. This is a conversation that keeps, we maintain our view that for the next year or so, the FT will remain positive. And if you note, up until since 2017, up to 2021, that's 5 years, almost 5-year time frame, the FT has been consistently negative. But the prices of energy-related materials that is used in the FT calculation is elevated and may continue to go higher. So we expect FT to be higher still. If you look at FT last year, right, we are still on a higher basis. Now, for the first time, the website of the government shows you 2 FT numbers. And that is because there is a social policy of trying to bring the energy price lower for the households. For us, we are in the industrial. So our power, I mentioned to you that we expect the improvement in terms of throughput, right? We are 493 million units. The reason for that is our phase 1 of coal replacement project is complete in December, and it's coming back. And then the second phase also done, coming back. The third phase is done in April. So we have 3 mothballed production facilities that are coming back this year. So what we have in the agenda and in our capex is the remaining conversion of the 150 megawatt. We are also we are rolling out the Songkhla project, which is a PPA with the government, and we are doing our solar farm and wind farm, and they will come in place. Probably our solar will come earlier and will give us some revenue and EBITDA, but the wind farm will probably be next year. Our specialty polymer, we continue to, as you can see here, the sale of value-added EVA is much smaller than before. Our general grade is 30%, and this has nothing to do with our situation internally. This has more to do with the fact that our input supplier, IRPC, was on a downtime. And so our volume sales of higher value EVA was a bit lower. But our IRPC is back online, so we should be better in the second quarter going forward in terms of composition of our EVA sales. We remain to be in the high value added division over here, but we are working very hard to jump to the next level of EVA. As you probably know, what is HVA now will become commodity in 2 to 3 years period. So we cannot stand still if we want to maintain our edge. So these are the things that we are doing in terms of trying to get up to higher HVA, and we hope to see contribution in the second half of this year. So this is the dynamics of the market. You have seen this before. The characteristic of the market has changed. Right? Previously, this is foam, low-grade commodity, and is the one that is a major use in EVA. But now the usage has shifted towards cable and adhesive, and the photo for solar panel production. The conversation of growth is in this area. It's 52% of the total. However, the biggest single grouping of EVA usage is still the manufacturing application, which is the commodity grade. So we do not ignore. Therefore, we argue that for the EVA price to improve, we need to see manufacturing activity improve, as well as continued growth in cable and adhesive, as well as solar panel contribution. So this is our margin. You have seen this before. We've showed you. And this one, if you look at where is the growth of the demand coming from, here, you see, it's in cable and adhesive, and it's PV. And the margin spike for us is also in those categories, high value added. We will remain in this particular space for now. So our sustainability, you have seen this chart before. We just continue to roll forward. And in terms of carbon merits that is gained by our power subsidiary, at the end of last year, we have 5.8 million tons of carbon equivalent. We are in the process of having this certified so that if and when the carbon market opens, we will be able to monetize this hidden asset. When we finish the construction of our 150 megawatt coal-fired power plant, our carbon merit on our power subsidiary will go up to 12 million. That's a significant amount for a potential monetization. And bear in mind that once again, we are going for a major launch towards green cement and building materials. This is a new initiative for us. These are our awards. And one last bit is our case. It's still pending in the Supreme Court already. And so we hope that it will be concluded soon. We have two options now. We can return the limestone back to the original place, and that is 48 million tons for us, or we can pay the fine, which is 6.3. This amount, if you go on a per share basis, is about 34 satang. And you remember that our book value was 3.336, I think. So still our book value will be quite high. So on the knowledge sharing, what happened in the first quarter was the growth in the gray cement. You can see now our quarter-on-quarter performance of construction materials was better. So you can see it here. The demand situation is also better. Now in ASEAN market, there was a decline in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Indonesia. Why am I presenting this to you? Because as you know, we export clinker to the region and to including Australia. And slowing of the ASEAN market will affect our price of clinker export. And you can see Vietnam being the biggest slowdown. And this is also the country that is dragging the clinker export price in the first quarter and still continuing somehow now. Energy price is trending down. You can see the coal price going lower. And when you look at the volume using America as the benchmark market, you can also see the car loads also going lower and gas price going lower, but still a bit higher than the historical average. All of these are determinants of our FT and also our production cost for the cement. And here is the EVA market. Now in China, remember one of the biggest use of EVA is the foaming for the footwear. This is manufacturing sector, and the utilization rate has already gone down to 30%. It's kind of back to the February level. And another interesting thing is the PV, the solar panel utilization rate as of July is also back to the first quarter January level, whereas in India, the footwear market is also coming down in terms of utilization rate. So indication is that the utilization rate of the various converter industries are much lower now. And can it go lower? We do not think so. But you can confirm that on what is happening to the manufacturing index on the ASEAN market. This is the PMI ASEAN market, whereby you can see an uptick in the trend. And this uptick in the trend is also seen in the uptick in the spread of the VEVA over the feedstock cost. So I think these utilization rates are the low of the year maybe, and we should expect improvement, even if it is marginal. But we still expect a positive trend somehow. So our carbon Remember, we had carbon credits as of 2022, and when we finish our modification, we will be 12 million carbon merits on this price of carbon. This is a significant hidden asset for us at the moment. So I conclude my presentation here. We will upload this material into TPIPL.co.th website, and I encourage you to come and visit so you can also see what else is going on. And I will move this section to Konprasert, our finance executive director, to answer the critical Q&A.
ขอบคุณครับคุณมาเรียนนะฮะต่อไปเป็นคำถามนะครับคำถามเนี่ยเดี๋ยวผมจะอ่านนะครับแล้วก็จะตอบร่วมกันนะครับคำถามแรกนะครับoutlook หรือว่าภาพรวมอุตสาหกรรมของธุรกิจปูนซีเมนต์นะครับเม็ดพลาสติกน่าจะถามเป็นปูนซีเมนต์นะครับแต่มีทิศทางเป็นอย่างไรบ้างนะครับดีหรือแย่กว่าในไตรมาสหนึ่งยังไงนะฮะอันนี้เดี๋ยวผมจะให้คุณมาเรียนตอบก่อนฮะoutlookใน Q2 ของ Cement Industry มองยังไงครับ
Right. You can see that there was improvement on a Q-on-Q basis for our construction material division, and we expect that improvement to continue. However, it will not register significant growth, probably low single digit, because the infrastructure side of the proposition is still waiting for the new government, and that is Thailand. In terms of cement clinker, we see improvement in the volume and in the price as the situation in Vietnam is getting better. You would see that in the first quarter, Vietnam internal demand was minus 20%. So we see our construction materials improving. Among the many building materials, construction materials that we sell cement, OPC, Portland, right? We sell hydraulic and we sell mortar. In the first quarter, the cement, OPC, and the mortar are going higher. So this is also the same trend that we see in the beginning of the second quarter of this year.
ครับก็น่าจะสอดคล้องกันนะผมก็มองว่าบริษัทมองว่าในไตรมาส2เนี่ยนะครับทิศทางโดยรวมของการเติบโตเนี่ยทั้งปีนะเรามองว่าในเทอมของวอลุ่มในประเทศเนี่ยน่าจะเติบโตประมาณ 3-5% นะครับแล้วก็อย่างไรก็ตามเนี่ยในส่วนของผลประกอบการเนี่ยน่าจะดีขึ้นจากต้นทุนพลังงานที่ลดลงซึ่งเดี๋ยวผมจะกล่าวต่อไปนะฮะหมายถึงต้นทุนถ่านหินที่ลดลงแล้วก็ต้นทุนค่าไฟที่ลดลงนะครับคาดการณ์ปริมาณจำหน่ายปูนซีเมนต์ในช่วงไตรมาส2จะแตะที่ประมาณเท่าไหร่นะครับปีที่แล้วเราขายปูนซีเมนต์รวมเนี่ยประมาณ12 ล้านตันนะ 11.6 ล้านตันปีนี้ก็น่าจะอยู่รวมที่ประมาณ12 ล้านตันในไตรมาส1เนี่ยเราขายไปแล้วประมาณ 3.1 ล้านตันนะครับอันนี้เวลาเราพูดถึงการขายเนี่ยเราจะรวมทางการขาย Clinker Export ด้วยนะครับกำลังการผลิตในส่วน EVA Powder ปัจจุบันมีมากน้อยยังไงนะครับปัจจุบันเนี่ยเรามีกำลังการผลิต EVA Powder เนี่ย 2,500 ตันนะครับอยู่ระหว่างการเพิ่มกำลังการผลิตอีก 3,000 ตัน per annum นะรวมจะเป็น 5,500 ตัน per annum นะครับแนวโน้มต้นทุนการผลิตปูนซีเมนต์และก็ผลิตกระแสไฟฟ้ามีทิศทางเป็นอย่างไรจะปรับตัวลงเมื่อเทียบกับ Q-on-Q หรือ year มากน้อยยังไงนะฮะอันนี้เดี๋ยวผมตอบก่อนเดี๋ยวคุณมาเรียนนะฮะช่วยตอบด้วยต้นทุนการผลิตปูนซีเมนต์เนี่ยจะลดลงนะครับจากราคาถ่านหินที่ลดลงนะครับเรามองว่าต้นทุนการผลิตปูนซีเมนต์เนี่ยในปัจจุบันจะลดลงจากค่าพลังงานหรือว่าค่าถ่านหินที่ลดลงนะครับจากประมาณ 4,000 กว่าบาทต่อตันเหลือประมาณระดับ 3,000 แล้วก็ลงมา 2,800 บาทต่อตันนะครับจะส่งผลให้ต้นทุนการผลิตคลิงเกอร์เนี่ยลดลงประมาณ 120-150 บาทต่อตันขณะที่ค่า FT ที่ลดลงประมาณ60 สตางค์เนี่ยจะส่งผลให้ค่าไฟเนี่ยลดลงประมาณ ประมาณ40 บาทถึง50 บาทต่อตันคลิงเกอร์นะครับปัจจุบันบริษัทมีสต็อกถ่านหินอยู่ประมาณเท่าไหร่นะครับเรามีสต็อกถ่านหินอยู่ในมือประมาณ 490,000 ถึง 500,000 ตันนะครับแล้วก็ปัจจุบันนี้ราคาถ่านหินที่เราซื้อล่าสุดก็อยู่ที่ประมาณ 2,600 ถึง 2,800 นะครับราคาเฉลี่ยถ่านหินในสต็อกก็อยู่ที่ประมาณ 3,000 เศษๆนะครับพูดถึงเรื่อง CapEx นะฮะเข้าใจว่าใน Presentation มีอยู่แล้วประมาณ 7,000 ล้านนะครับตัวเลขจริงประมาณ 6,700 ล้านส่วนใหญ่จะเป็น CapEx ของบริษัทย่อยคือ Power ประมาณ 4,000 กว่าล้านนะครับแล้วก็โพลีนประมาณ 1,000 ล้านนะครับในส่วนนี้เรามีจริงๆมีจ่ายไปแล้วนะครับในส่วนของ Power เนี่ยประมาณ 5,500 นะครับจ่ายไปแล้ว 1,300 เหลือ 4,200 ของโพลีนเนี่ยประมาณ 1,000 จ่ายไปแล้ว 200เพราะนั้นส่วนที่เหลือของปีโพลีนเหลือ 800เพราะนั้นทั้งหมดเนี่ยประมาณ 6,600 นะครับจ่ายไปแล้ว 1,600 ส่วนที่เหลือของปีนี่ประมาณ 5,000 ล้านนะครับทั้ง2บริษัทส่วนใหญ่ไปอยู่ที่ Power นะครับในไตรมาส 1 ปี 66 ราคาปูนปรับขึ้นได้เท่าไหร่นะครับในไตรมาส 1 ของปี 66 เนี่ยราคาปูนถ้าเทียบกับไตรมาส 1 ของปี 65 เนี่ยเราขึ้นได้ 200-300 บาทต่อตันนะครับอย่างไรก็ตามพอเมื่อเทียบกับQ4 65 นะฮะก็อยู่ในระดับต่ำลงเล็กน้อยต่ำลงเนื่องจากราคาพลังงานที่ลดลงนะครับก็มีการแข่งขันกันเกิดขึ้นบ้างนะครับประเมินต้นทุนถ่านหินเฉลี่ยใน Q2 ผมเรียนไปแล้วนะครับเทรนด์ของถ่านหินจะลงนะฮะแล้วก็ราคาพลังงานจะลงค่าไฟจะลงเพราะนั้นเราจะมี cost saving ประมาณ150 บาทถึง200 บาทต่อตันคลิงเกอร์ปัจจุบัน TPIPL ใช้ RDF เป็นกี่เปอร์เซ็นต์นะครับที่เอามาแทนถ่านหินนะฮะปัจจุบันเนี่ยเราใช้ RDF มาแทนถ่านหินประมาณ 15-20% นะครับก็ในส่วนของถ่านหินเองก็จะใช้ประมาณ 80-85% ซึ่งเฉพาะตรงนี้เนี่ยเราจะเซฟประมาณ 120-150 บาทและในส่วนของ RDF ที่ใช้ 15% เราก็จะเซฟจากต้นทุนที่ใช้ RDF มาแทนถ่านหินด้วยซึ่ง Product Cement ที่เราผลิตเนี่ยก็จะเป็น Green Cement ตามที่คุณมาเรียได้พูดไปแล้วนะครับแนวโน้มกำไรของธุรกิจปิโตรเคมในงวด Q2 จะเป็นอย่างไรนะครับคงจะอยู่ในระดับเดียวกับQ1 นะครับสเปรดก็อยู่ระดับ 1,000 เหรียญประมาณ 1,000 ถึง 1,100 เหรียญต่อตันค่าเสื่อมนะครับค่าเสื่อมจะเพิ่มขึ้นหรือเปล่ายังไงนะครับค่าเสื่อมก็คงอยู่ในระดับนี้ฮะ800 กว่าล้านบาทนะครับต่อไตรมาสนะครับก็ยังไม่มีโปรเจกต์ที่จะปิดแล้วมาตัดเพิ่มขึ้นอย่างมีนัยสำคัญราคาซีเมนต์ในประเทศจีนที่ลดลงอย่างต่อเนื่องจะส่งผลกระทบต่อการส่งออกคลิงเกอร์ของโพลีนหรือไม่นะครับจริงๆแล้วราคาเอ็กซ์พอร์ตของคลิงเกอร์เนี่ยตัวที่กระทบจริงๆน่าจะมาจากตลาดเวียดนามนะครับซึ่งค่อนข้างขายในราคาที่ถูกมากอย่างไรก็ตามบริษัทก็จะแมทราคาขายเปรียบเทียบกับต้นทุนของเรานะฮะเวลาเราเอ็กซ์พอร์ตเนี่ยอย่างเราจะมองเรื่องของเราต้องมี EBITDA นะครับในการเอ็กซ์พอร์ตซึ่งราคาพลังงานที่ลดลงอย่างต่อเนื่องเนี่ยก็จะทำให้เราเนี่ยสามารถเอ็กซ์พอร์ตคลิงเกอร์ได้โดยมีสเปรด EBITDA ที่เหมาะสมต่อไปนะครับราคา EVA LDPE ช่วงนี้เป็นขาลงบริษัทบริหารอย่างไรนะครับมองยังไงครับคุณมาราคา EVA LDPE
right Right, you remember the first quarter, we did not sell a lot of our high HVA because we didn't have raw material coming from the shutdown of IRPC, and that's back in April. So second quarter, third quarter, our EVA revenue will be driven by increasing proportion of HVA. So that's one thing to consider. Second is here, I showed you that as of the projection for July, the utilization rate is gonna be probably we will hit the bottom in terms of utilization rate. I can cross-check this hypothesis by the improvement in ASEAN PMI as well as the improvement in the EVA spread. So performance-wise, probably slightly better than first quarter.
ครับผมจะสรุปภาพรวมนิดนึงนะฮะคือจริงๆเนี่ยบริษัทเนี่ยมุ่งเน้นการเติบโตอย่างยั่งยืนนะครับโดยลดมลภาวะของสิ่งแวดล้อมนะครับนั่นคือเหตุผลที่เรานำเชื้อเพลิงขยะเนี่ยมาใช้ในการผลิตซีเมนต์แล้วก็มาใช้ในการผลิตไฟฟ้าด้วยซึ่งส่งผลให้บริษัทเนี่ยมี cost saving ครับส่งผลให้มี EBITDA ที่เติบโตขึ้นอย่างต่อเนื่องนะครับhidden asset ที่คุณมาเรียกล่าวไปแล้วเนี่ยเรามีคาร์บอนเครดิตซึ่งจริงๆแล้วในตลาดยุโรปก็ขายกันอยู่ที่ประมาณมีโค้ด80 เหรียญ50 เหรียญ30 เหรียญนะครับในตามชาร์ตรูปนี้นะฮะเราจะมีคาร์บอนเครดิตมากขึ้นเรื่อยๆจากการใช้ขยะมากขึ้นเรามีการ modify จากโรงไฟฟ้าของบริษัท TPIPL Power TG7 นะครับซึ่งตอนนี้เสร็จแล้วนะครับกำลังเสร็จแล้วก็กำลังเทสเดินเครื่องอยู่ต่อไปตัว TG8 เรามี modify boiler 3 ตัวนะฮะเปลี่ยนจากการใช้ถ่านหิน 100% มาเป็นขยะซึ่งจะทยอยเสร็จในต้นปีหน้านะครับกลางปีหน้าแล้วก็ต้นปีถัดไปซึ่งจะส่งผลให้บริษัทเนี่ยสามารถลดต้นทุนการผลิตก่อให้เกิดกำไรที่เติบโตอย่างยั่งยืนและก็เป็นการลดคาร์บอนอิมิชันส่งผลให้บริษัทมีคาร์บอนเครดิตซึ่งสามารถขายได้ในอนาคตซึ่งเป็น hidden asset ของบริษัทนะครับตอนนี้เวลาก็หมดลงนะครับต้องขอบคุณนักลงทุนที่ให้ความสนใจในการนำเสนอข้อมูลของบริษัท TPIPL จำกัดมหาชนนะครับขอบคุณนะครับสวัสดีครับ